Hey everyone, it's Andy here from Saving to Invest, and I just wanted to talk about the unemployment benefit extensions under the Biden stimulus plan for the PUA and the PEUC and the $400 FPUC weekly payment. All these enhanced unemployment programs are planned to be extended under the $1.9 trillion Biden stimulus plan. And I thought today I'll just give you a quick update on how it may look. The details are still being worked through. Congress is still working through this bill. I do expect it to pass in the next 4 to 6 weeks because all it needs to do is pass along party line votes. And with Democrats controlling Congress, that should happen. There may be some changes to timelines and the amounts, but I think for the most part, what I have here should be what will be in the final bill. But again, please continue to follow. And you can do so by hitting the subscribe button below. And as always, if this information is useful to you, please hit the like button and I'll appreciate that. All that is free as well. So, this graphic is where I've tried to summarize all the enhanced unemployment programs to date, the ones that have been there, the ones that are in place right now, and what's coming under the Biden stimulus package. There's a lot of details behind it, so obviously I can't put everything in one slide, but hopefully this gives you a visual of the coverage of the different programs, and everyone's probably fit into one or more of these. So I'll post some links with some specific articles and details on each of these things, and you can see some resources I've already got included in this slide. And at my website, savingtoinvest.com, you should have a lot more information there as well. So essentially, there have been three stimulus packages that have been approved. One was the CARES Act that was done in 2020. This was the nearly over $2 trillion package that was approved by Congress and President Trump as part of reaction to the COVID breakout originally. This went from March 27th to December 26th. It had initially provisions for the PUA, the PEUC, and initially had a $600 FPUC payment. That was approved and that expired at the end of 2020. To replace that, Congress passed what they call as a Continued Assistance Act, the COVID Relief Bill, which allowed the funding to go from December 27th to March 13th. And now what they're proposing under the Biden American Rescue Plan is $1.9 trillion stimulus package with more unemployment benefit extensions that'll essentially run from March 14th to August 20th. Now, these are the stimulus packages are basically the funding periods that are covered. So it doesn't mean that the plans are restricted to these dates exactly. There is retroactive payments and you can roll over weeks, but it's important to understand if a certain program was funded under a certain plan, it's tied to those rules versus other plans that come in the future are tied to the rules under that stimulus package. And they have changed over the three packages, and I expect that under the Biden plan, there'll be some more changes as well. So I'm not going to touch on regular state unemployment. That's standard for every state, 12 to 26 weeks, and it depends on your weekly benefit amount is based on your previous year's earnings. Some states also had extended benefits when they hit certain high unemployment thresholds. For 2020, most states hit that. A lot of them are not going below that, so that's not always available. But that did allow states to extend both regular unemployment, PUC, and PUA by some of those extended weeks that were funded by the states. So the big federally funded program that was really for the regular state unemployment and those who are on W-2 incomes was PEUC, Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation. I'm calling it PEUC 1.0, was funded under the CARES Act. 2.0 was the subsequent, and 3.0 will be the one under the Biden bill. It just helps you differentiate each one. The original PUC was funded for 13 weeks. It went from March 29th to December 26th. So once you exhausted your regular UI, you would basically go into the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. So that gave you the 26 weeks in most states plus 13, so 39 weeks, which was actually the same as what PUA, which was designed for freelancers, gig workers who did not get regular state unemployment. But PEUC was 13 weeks initially under the CARES Act. It was then extended under the COVID relief bill for an extra 11 weeks. That went from December 27th to April 10th. Now, that includes a 3-week phase out period. So it technically ends on March 14th for any new claims, but then it allowed people to claim for an extra 3 weeks until the week ending April 10th if they had remaining weeks or balances left over. So it allowed them to use up, for example, if they had started the PUC under CARES towards the end of 2020, they would have had weeks left over, or they started PEUC 2.0 later in January because they didn't lose their job or they were only qualified after they ran out of regular state unemployment sometime in mid-January, they had remaining weeks. So the program was designed so they don't lose those weeks if they don't use them. It just allows them to carry it for another 3 or 4 weeks. Now, the good thing is with PUC 3.0 that will be enacted under Biden's American Rescue Plan is that If they have any remaining weeks from CARES and from the COVID relief bill, they can carry those on, plus get the 24 extra weeks that PUC 3.0 should provide. And again, I've included a 3-week phase out period because I assume while that's not finalized, it'll probably be the same as the PEUC 2.0. It'll allow you to have carryover weeks. It may be a longer period because people may have more weeks, but it'll have that phase out period. Again, during the phase out period, no new claims can be put in. The other big program, again, like I said, was for freelancers, self-contract, independent workers who were not WT workers, mainly getting 1099s. They were not covered by regular state unemployment. So the PUA program was a big boon to help them during the COVID crisis. It was subject to a lot of fraud, unfortunately, because it's hard to prove income and you don't have regular tax W-2s. So it initially, was paid probably 15%, up to 15% was paid out to people who were not eligible. People were just claiming it, and states were trying to get money out, so it was paid pretty quickly. But that went for 39 weeks originally, ended at the end of December. So PUA 2.0, which was put in as part of the COVID relief bill, added a lot of restrictions around identification and documents, just again to address fraud mainly from the original PUA 1.0 program. That did unfortunately mean that states had to do a fair few updates to the systems. They're still doing it, so they're asking for more documentation. A lot of people had challenges getting onto the PUA program. There have been delays. It took several weeks for states to implement this, but most are getting there. I know there's a lot of manual claims being processed for people whose claims are flagged, but those 11 weeks will be retroactively paid to the beginning of December, the week beginning December 27th, which is the week ending Jan 2nd, 2021. That's being paid. It'll be retroactive to the beginning of the period. Again, because the retroactive parts of 1.0, 2.0 are always to the beginning of the period of funding. So it's important to keep that in mind. You don't just go back to the original start of the CARES Act funding unless you were unemployed for those weeks. Each is funded differently. So same with PU 3.0. That's for another 24 weeks. That'll allow people to carry over weeks with a phase out period. Again, I expect that to be challenged, and I'll talk about some of the challenges coming up, but I do expect that to be a challenge to roll out. And just given that it's the same complexity, the same systems, I'm hoping states are being smart this time. They've done this twice, but you never know. So the other big payment, which actually made a huge difference to a lot of people, was the supplementary, which was the extra weekly payments under the FPUC program, or the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program. This was originally done under the CARES Act for $600 for 13 weeks. So if you got $1 of regular unemployment under regular state, PEUC, or PUA, you got the FPUC $600 payment. Now, there was a brief program called Lost Wages Assistance, which was actually funded through FEMA by executive order from President Trump at that time for 6 weeks for $300. That was not tied to FPUC. That was a separate program. That was only for 6 weeks. It was $300 per week. From the beginning of August to sort of mid-September. That was a very challenged program to roll because it was brand new legislation. It took several weeks for people to get paid out. That had a higher minimum threshold of $100 from an existing unemployment program, so a lot less people got it. That was only for 6 weeks. But then Congress came in as part of the COVID relief bill and actually reenacted the FPUC program for $300. That again is funded for 11 weeks. There is no phase out period, so it will end on March 13th. And if you get unemployment after that, you'll fall into the Biden American Rescue Plan, which is proposing a $400 FPUC payment. So the amount is different. Again, it's on top of your regular UI, PUC, or PUA, but the amount has changed. They're proposing 400. I would not be shocked if it does go back to 300 to keep more votes in place in case there's some people who don't think the bill is too expensive. But that's going to be for 24 weeks, go till August 28th. Again, the idea is to get people with this extra payment through to the end of summer, when at point the COVID pandemic should be reduced, because the majority of Americans should be vaccinated by that point in time. There may be an extension after that. I highly doubt it. I think there's going to be very little appetite to spend trillions of dollars in stimulus programs if the economy has stabilized by then. I do want to mention this. This came out as part of the COVID relief bill, the Mixed Earners Unemployment Compensation Program. So this was $100 extra, again, supplementary on top of PUA or PEUC for those people who got both wage income plus also 1099 income. So it's those freelancers who had a full-time job but maybe did some side gigs, just to recognize them that they lost a lot of their supplementary income or their freelance or independent income because of the pandemic crisis. If they've lost income because of that, they would get extra $100 on top of that if they could prove they had self-employment income of over $5,000. There's a whole separate article. I have a tracker for which states are paying MEEUC, because this is an optional program for states to do. And again, that I expect should be extended under the Biden program. Now, I do realize some people have not even been able to apply for the current MEUC under the COVID relief bill because the states haven't even updated systems. They've been focused on updating systems for PUC and PUA, but that should be done. And I think the $100 payment will continue as part of the Biden relief plan through to the end of August as well. I've also included here some links you can get some more information. It's from my website, savingtoinvest.com/PUA/PEUC, FPUC for the different programs, and /UI for the state pages. And of course, you can also follow my YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages if you want to get the latest updates. I do post quick updates as they come through, but I'll post more videos as well, of course, as information comes to hand and the bill is finalized. So I do want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that people should expect. I know that with the latest COVID relief bill, there was a lot of challenges getting that out, but just to set your expectations. And so, I think that even with PUA 3.0 or PEUC 3.0, there will be ongoing updates. State UI agencies have old systems. A lot of them are from the 70s, 80s. They don't have time to go and upgrade it. They all get funding as part of the stimulus packages to update their systems, but unfortunately, some of them are so old they need a full overhaul, and that probably won't be able to happen while these updates are happening. But I expect to be ongoing delays, especially with those people who've exhausted their balances. That seems to take the longest because they're not sure if they have to file a new claim or reactivate the existing claims, or if they've been flagged for fraud in the past, they'll probably get flagged again. So those people should expect delay in benefits. Generally, if you have an active claim, the weeks are normally automatically added, but the PUA and PEUC programs have had a lot of challenges in those being rolled out, and I expect that to continue with this Biden stimulus bill. So just be prepared for that. I do know states have a lot more notice, so hopefully it's a bit quicker this time, but states like California, Virginia, Michigan, Florida, New Jersey, they've just had some tough people. And I know a lot of people, based on the comments on the various pages I have for those states, have had challenges getting these payments. So getting through to a state UI agency rep is going to be another challenge. This is difficult now, and it's not going to get any easier as these new programs are happening while they work through the backlog of claims, manually processed claims from the existing programs, plus have to deal with all the issues from the new programs. So there's probably close to 100 to 200,000 people still waiting for their claim to be processed under the CARES Act and the COVID relief bill. They will have to keep processing those while rolling out this new Biden stimulus program. So you will still be finding it hard. Your best option is to be patient, keep trying. There's a lot of information online to try and find different ways, calling at different times, using a different language source, calling multiple times. It's just patient and persistence. That's really the only way you'll get through to someone, and then making sure you get through to someone that can help you. So that's not going to get any better anytime soon, but hopefully people will just make sure they follow the notifications they get from the state UI agencies. I'll keep posting updates as I hear more, but that's going to be an ongoing challenge. The good news is, and while this is a challenge for some who are waiting for payments, and I know it's frustrating when you need to put food on the table and pay bills, payments will be retroactive. So even though you may have not got some of your COVID relief payments or even potentially CARES, they will be retroactive for those eligible weeks. Again, you can't go back and make claims going back a year if you've not been unemployed. You have to be for the program you're in. But retroactive payments are being processed, especially if the things like MEUC, the Mixed Earners Program, potentially delayed PEUC 2.0, that is being paid right now, and that'll continue. So just be patient, and if you're not, keep calling your state agency to try and make sure that they can backdate weeks or add those relevant weeks so that you can certify and make those payments. Anyway, a lot more to come. This is just the first video. As the bill is worked through, I'll post more things on this, plus also a lot of the other stuff in the stimulus package. Please hit the like button, subscribe to get the latest notifications, and leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye-bye.